In the days before the internet, cover-mounted discs and videotapes were the only way game companies could show console owners a glimpse of the future. In 1995, the 5th generation of consoles had launched in the UK, and Sega were keen to show Sega Saturn owners what was in store for them in the months ahead. On October 26, 1995, issue 1 of the official UK Sega Saturn Magazine was released, marking the rebrand of Sega Magazine as it shifted its focus to the Saturn. The issue was special because it featured a cover-mounted VHS tape, full of footage of games coming soon, as well as games out now. This tape is where I would first see Virtua Fighter 2 and Virtua Cop in action, and it absolutely blew my mind. In this video, I'm going to take you on a tour of that very VHS, which I proudly have in my Saturn collection today. So sit back, cast your mind back to 1995, and imagine you've just bought your Sega Saturn. The latest Sega console is sat under your television, and years of entertainment lie ahead, and you're about to see the future with your own eyes.
Reality always hurts.
Welcome to the real world, Sega Saturn.
The version of Sega Rally shown on the video is stated as being 70% complete, but in actual fact is taken from the October 3rd 1995 build, which officially was 75% complete and can be found on Hidden Palace. This build is also where the demo from the bootleg sampler demo disc is taken from, where you race 2 laps against one rival on Forest Track. You can also see that the Celica has its arcade car model, which was switched out for a more recent version of the car in the retail build, as well as the infamous missing mountain on Forest's hairpin. The video shows footage from all 4 tracks, giving a real in-depth look at the game. Now, I'd played the bootleg sampler demo to absolute death by this point, and remember the excitement at seeing all the other courses in action. Those who know me know by now that Sega Rally on the Saturn is my favourite game of all time. For me, it's a timeless, addictive arcade racer that hides its depth within track designs aimed at promoting repeated play and shaving milliseconds off your best times. And only the legendary Outrun 2 comes close when it comes to that urge to have one more go. As the years have passed, we've come to learn that Mizuguchi-san and his team built Sega Rally from the ground up on the Saturn without the use of the Sega graphics library. This has led to Mizuguchi-san confirming what we've said all along here at the Sega Guys. Sega Rally on the Saturn is not a port, it's its own game, tailored to the Saturn's hardware, and as a result, it's the superior version of the game from a purely gameplay standpoint. Sure, the Model 2 version looks incredibly sharp and has better draw distance, but the Saturn version has handling mechanics that make it a far deeper and ultimately a far more rewarding racer. The ability to feel connected to the track, to be able to tell which type of road surface you're driving on, all on a basic D-pad, wasn't just ahead of its time, it was revolutionary, and to be honest, it hasn't been replicated to this day. In the magazine itself, Sega Rally had a 4-page feature, as Sega Saturn Magazine really rammed home the hype around the big 3 of Sega Rally, Virtua Cop, and of course, Virtua Fighter 2. The tape features 2 Virtua Fighter 2 demos, the first being the character movement demo, which was shown at the Tokyo Toy Show in June 1995. This was the first time that Saturn VF2 had ever been shown to the public, and the fluidity of movement from the characters blew people away as Pai, Lau and Lion performed various moves and poses. This photo of Sega's stand at the show shows just how much focus was put on Virtua Fighter 2, with large screens and huge banners, as well as a cardboard cutout of Akira Yuki welcoming attendees. Virtua Cop is also promoted heavily, as seen by it running on several TVs overhead, as well as a wall of screens at the back of the booth. Amusingly, I couldn't help but notice the guy with the PlayStation bag having a chat to one of the Sega staff. I wondered if Virtua Fighter 2 was enough to make him buy a Saturn. Seeing this demo with my own eyes on the tape back in the day was incredible. My uncle had filled out the registration form for his Saturn and as a result had received a free copy of Virtua Fighter Remix and the CG Portrait disc, packaged in this gorgeous cardboard box that opened up with a flap on the front to reveal the double jewel case inside. So while Remix had been a visual step up, VF2 was on another level altogether. It was hard to believe that this game was running on the same console, and then we got to the gameplay demos. Throughout August and September, as development picked up pace, various builds were shown to gaming media and at trade shows, such as ECTS, with more characters and features added each time. The version shown here is said to be 40% complete, and shows all characters as selectable. However, in the various demo fights, you can see that the hitboxes aren't coded yet, meaning that punches and kicks don't even register. However, throws are fully implemented. The demo is also missing any audio other than the music, so the announcer and sound effects from punches and kicks are completely absent. Music wise, the footage is back to a loop of Lau and Pai's stage themes, but a good array of characters are shown in action, with only Shun and Pai failing to make an appearance. Just like with Sega Rally, in fact probably more so, this absolutely blew my mind seeing this for the first time at the age of 16 years old. I loved the first Virtua Fighter game. I played VF2 in the arcades every weekend. How the hell was this coming into my home? Now, I don't want to go into too many personal memories of VF2 here though, because Dan and I recently released our 30th anniversary Virtua Fighter 2 video, which goes in depth on the development of the game as well as a host of personal memories, so if you haven't checked that out yet, the link is in the description. Virtua Fighter 2 would go on to become one of the highest rated Saturn games ever, with a Sega Retro average of 94 out of 100 from 41 reviews, and it's little wonder that it would go on to become the Sega Saturn's biggest selling game worldwide. Quite simply, VF2 is nothing short of a phenomenon. The build of Virtua Cop shown here is also taken from the Tokyo Toy Show in 1995, but even at 30% complete, it still made a hell of an impression. Straight away you notice the basic stage select screen with no background or music. Likewise, there's no loading screen to announce the name of the stage, but when the action starts, it's actually remarkable how close to the final build the first stage was at this point. Other omissions include the cracked glass and bullet hole when you take a shot and lose a life, while enemy screams and the pleas of hostages are also absent. Thanks to Pandemonium's epic Virtua Cop documentary, we now know that this port was handled by a team of Sega rookies, supervised by Yu Suzuki, which makes the sheer quality of this port all the more remarkable to this day. Virtua Cop also has its place in Sega Saturn history, as one of the earliest games to be developed using the Sega graphics library. This was another game that I played in the arcade on weekends back in the day, and to see the Saturn port look so close was incredible. I would get the Virtua Gun and Virtua Cop bundle for Christmas 1995, and playing it on a 55-inch rear projection TV with surround sound was as close to the arcade in the home as I had ever experienced. The saddest memory I have of Virtua Cop though is that when I was bought this game for Christmas, it was on the bottom shelf of the game section in WH Smith. Remember when they sold video games? How was a release of this size so poorly promoted? A sign of things to come perhaps, but nothing could dampen my anticipation for Virtua Cop, and this VHS plus the exposure to the arcade version is why I still prefer the first game to its arguably superior sequel to this day. Virtua Cop would go on to sell just shy of 1 million copies worldwide, receiving praise and high scores in almost every major gaming publication. One of my best Saturn memories is getting the big three as and when they launched. I was so lucky that I got to experience Virtua Cop at Christmas 95 and then Virtua Fighter 2 and Sega Rally within a week of one another in late January 96. To go from watching these demos on a videotape to playing them in my home within 3 months was insane. And when you consider that I'd spent months on end hoping and praying for Street Fighter 2 on the Amiga, only to be let down with a shoddy port, it felt like my gaming life had gone full circle. Sega Saturn Magazine had shown me the future, now I was living in it. I hope you've enjoyed this look back through an absolutely brilliant piece of Sega Saturn history, and one which is the source of many beloved personal memories. This has been James the SEGAHolic of the Sega Guys. Until next time, we will see you on the Sega side.